The Houston Texans are Super Bowl bound. DeMeco Ryans, CJ Stroud, Tank Dell, and now Joe Mixon and Danielle Hunter are going to take the Texans to the promised land.
These moves have turned the Texans from a 3-win team into playoff contenders. And in this video, I'm going to convince you that not only will this team win their division, they're going to win the Super Bowl this season as well. This video will discuss 4 main topics, ending with how the Texans will win the Super Bowl next season. But before we get into that, we need to understand just how the Texans even became a 3-win team. It all began January 28th, 2020. The divisional round of the NFL playoffs, the Houston Texans versus the Kansas City Chiefs. This game actually started off incredibly well for Houston, them going out to a 21-0 lead in the first quarter, but they were playing Patrick Mahomes. So in the second quarter, he said, you know what you can do, I can do better, and scored 28 in the second quarter, 13 in the third, and 10 in the fourth, and they beat the Texans 51-31. 51-31. It was an embarrassing end for the Texans as they were expected to have a great postseason run. The following season, the Texans would finish the year with a whopping 4-12 record, partly because Deshaun Watson had to miss time near the end of the season. But on the bright side, since they had such a bad record, they had the 3rd overall pick in the draft. So they're gonna be able to draft somebody really good, right? Oh, well, at least they still have their star quarterback. I mean, as long as you have a good quarterback in the NFL, you can do whatever you want. Oh, really? Well, I mean, at least there's no controversy about the... Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, no, this team is actually screwed for the rest of their existence.
Now that we've discussed why the Texans were such a bad team, we gotta move on to topic number 2. The quarterback that they drafted to replace Deshaun Watson, CJ Stroud. The 2022 season went pretty much the same as the previous 2 seasons, leaving the Texans with the 2nd overall pick, but this time they actually owned the pick themselves. The big debate leading up to the draft was whether CJ Stroud or Bryce Young should be the pick for the Panthers, who had the 1st pick, and then the Texans would be stuck with whoever the loser was, whoever didn't get picked. But after it came out that CJ Stroud scored poorly on a cognition exam, it tanked his draft stock. And it's not like he dropped 5 picks, he just wasn't the first. The Panthers ended up taking Bryce 1st overall, which meant that the Texans, because of this poor score on an exam, were stuck with CJ Stroud. But this turned out to be a blessing in disguise for the Houston Texans and of course their fans, because CJ Stroud would go on to have the greatest rookie campaign of any rookie quarterback I've seen in my time. What I find most impressive of Stroud's rookie season is that he had the lowest interception rate of any quarterback in the season, 1%. But in the wildcard round, we saw he was not afraid to just throw the ball wherever he wanted. It's impressive that a kid so young is able to play like such a mature vet so quickly. And now that we got that out of the way, we can jump into why I think the Texans are going to the Super Bowl. And the first step to get there is the offseason, the 2024 NFL offseason, including the NFL draft. Typically in the NFL, the easiest way to win a Super Bowl, or at least to have great success, is to sign a bunch of star players while you have a quarterback on their rookie contract. Look at the Dolphins with Tua. They were able to get Tyreek, they were able to get Jalen Ramsey and Bradley Chubb because they had Tua on a rookie contract. Or the Bengals, even though they didn't really sign them, they drafted Jamar Chase, who was also on a rookie contract. Which brings me to the next point. Having multiple players that are good all-pro talents on the same team with rookie contracts, it makes it even easier to make the Super Bowl. And in the Texans case, Tank Dell, CJ Stroud, Derek Stingley, Nico Collins, these guys are all on their rookie contracts still, so they do not have to pay those positions nearly average value for what they would be, especially Nico and Tank, who were 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks. They're getting paid pennies on the dollar for what they're actually worth. So in order to get to the Super Bowl, they need to fill in some holes that were kind of depleted, that being their running game. The biggest weakness for the Houston Texans this season was their running game. And the first step in tackling this issue was getting Joe Mixon in free agency. But just how does Joe Mixon fit into Bobby Slowick's offensive scheme?
Well, I'm going to take you through a couple plays from the Texans offense in Week 10 versus the Bengals. You tell me if Joe Mixon would have done good in these situations.
The Houston Texans had the second worst yards per carry in the entire NFL with 3.7, and this play you just saw proves it exactly. Let's run it back one more time in slow-mo. Look at Devin Singletary. Where is he going? Not only is he going into his blockers, which I'm sure is where he's supposed to go, he's going into his blockers when there's a clear path out to the left that he would have gotten straight in for a touchdown. I mean, look at that. Singletary just needs to trust his blocking and he would have had a huge gain. I know Joe Mixon's old, but he definitely can get to his second gear faster than Devin Singletary. Look at him walking around the backfield before deciding to go to the outside. Like, dude, again, Singletary is not bad, but what are these runs? But being a running back also requires good blocking, and you can see here, I cannot tell who it was, but that person up front blocking just completely let a Bengal player into the backfield. I'll circle him right here. That player comes straight into the backfield. Boom, no blocking on him. And actually go back a second. I think that might have been the receiver's fault in blocking, because it looks like the offensive tackle is looking to go upfield. Yeah, it just was a complete whiff from the wide receiver on that block. But again, no running back is going to succeed with this crap blocking in front of him. This is another failed blocking concept. I don't even know who to circle. It's the whole team, honestly. There's like 4 Bengals players in the backfield before Singletary even gets the ball in his hands. Dalton Schultz actually completely gives away that it's a run right here. Look at his eyes. He's staring right at the guy he wants to block, which lets number 57 know he can come in completely for free, untouched. One thing that I noticed while watching this film, the Houston Texans do not throw the ball to their running backs. And I went and looked this up. Look at this, fantasypros.com. The Houston Texans were second last in the NFL with total targets to running backs. Not throws completed, just targets, with only 71. That's horrendous. Hopefully the addition of Joe Mixon will completely change that, because I think to make the Super Bowl, throwing to your running back, you're going to have to do it. I mean, James White is literally the reason the Patriots won and came back against the Falcons. He had like 3 touchdowns in that game. Throwing to your running back is one of the staples of NFL offenses. It gets the defenses to come down and play lower to the line of scrimmage. I cannot believe that the Texans were second last. Now, after seeing those clips, I hope you understand that Joe Mixon's addition to this offense is going to be a huge benefit to not only Bobby Slowick, but of course CJ Stroud. Having a running back that can actually play running back and not just be a decoy on the field is going to be an extra level to this already incredible offense. And like I said, they were second last in the entire NFL with 3.7 yards per carry. Now, obviously, this is a combination of a bad running back and a bad offensive line. Maybe not a bad offensive line, more of an injured offensive line, because at the end of the day, they were missing like 6 offensive linemen for the first couple games of the year, and they just kept having a revolving door of people going on injured reserve, people coming off injured reserve. They never got time to really mesh and create chemistry with each other. Now, this is not an easy thing to fix. Devin Singletary is not the worst running back, but there's plenty of better ones, and that's exactly the decision that the Texans made. They decided to let Devin Singletary walk in free agency and bring in a proven running back who has run behind a battle line before, Joe Mixon.
What's good, everybody? Joe Mixon in the building. Finally made it to my new home in the locker room. Excited to get with the guys. Just wanted to shout y'all out, man. Know that we here. Let's get it, man. Go Texans.
They also addressed a few holes that were made by the departure of some of their previous players, like Jonathan Greenard leaving. With Greenard leaving to the Vikings, they had to go out and find some edge rusher to bring into the team, and funnily enough, they got the Vikings edge rusher. So basically, the Houston Texans and the Minnesota Vikings just swapped edge rushers at the end of the day. Greenard to the Vikings and Danielle Hunter to the Texans. But they also filled in a couple, not really holes, but a couple nice to haves. Re-signing Dalton Schultz, great re-signing. He didn't put up monster numbers like a George Kittle or Travis Kelce, but he was good enough, and when the Texans needed him, he had some good plays. And Jeff Okudah, the former 3rd overall pick by the Vikings, who I think was playing with the Falcons for the past couple years, now in Houston. I think he still has potential to be good, especially in a DeMeco Ryans defense, which was pretty good last year. They were, I believe, 11th in points allowed per game. Now, after free agency comes the NFL draft. The Texans did have a 1st-round pick. They had the 23rd pick, but they decided to trade down with the Vikings to get an additional 2nd-round pick. They should go for defensive tackle and receiver with their 2 2nd-round picks. I don't know whether I want them to go defensive tackle first or receiver first, But there is a receiver that I think might slip down a few boards. I think he's who they should take at 59 overall. So just give me a couple seconds to get to him. But first, the defensive tackle they should pick, T'Vondre Sweat. 6'4", 366 pounds. That is like the best build for a defensive tackle I've ever heard. He's a big guy. He takes up so much space. Nobody's going to run through him. Even Derrick Henry's not going to run through him, even though the Texans are lucky because Derrick Henry just left the division, so they don't have to see him 2 times a year. Might not even have to see him at all, which is good for them. Now, 59th pick, a developmental receiver. Maybe someone like Ricky Pearsall, or Pearsall, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, but who I think, Xavier Legette, whatever his name is. I think he could be a great wide receiver 2 or 3 for the Texans because Tank Dell and Nico Collins both missed extended periods of time this season due to injury. And we don't know if they're going to be 100% by the time the season comes around. The Texans made the second round of the playoffs with a rookie quarterback and a rookie head coach. The last time that happened, sorry about that. The Texans made the second round of the playoffs with a rookie head coach and a rookie quarterback. I think the last time that happened was with John Harbaugh and Joe Flacco. Not Lamar Jackson, Joe Flacco. That's how long ago that happened. The additions between Joe Mixon, Danielle Hunter, re-signing Dalton Schultz, getting Jeff Okudah, whoever they draft this year, all of these pieces put together, and the old players having another year under the DeMeco Ryans system, and as long as CJ takes more steps towards becoming an all-pro quarterback, I don't see a universe where this team doesn't make the Super Bowl. And I know it's crazy to predict the team making the Super Bowl that got smoked in the second round of the playoffs, but that's what I do here. I make crazy takes that half the people that watch don't agree with. But if you watch till the end, you want to see another crazy take, see how bad Mac Jones was. I mean, he was a Pro Bowler as a rookie and then traded to the Jaguars after 3 seasons. He wasn't even up for his contract yet, and they got rid of his ass. He got Belichick fired. He got his offensive coordinator shipped off. He got Devontae Parker gone, Mike Gesicki gone. Just how bad was Mac Jones? Click right here if you want to find out. And I'll see you there.